Did you know it's not the memory itself that hurts you, but a single hidden thought that keeps it alive? Today I'm going to reveal what that thought is, why it has the power to keep you tied to someone who's no longer in your life, and how to deactivate it for good so you can remember them without pain and reclaim the peace that their absence stole from you. Get ready, because what you're about to discover is what Carl Jung would call the key to freeing yourself from any love that's breaking you inside. This content is definitely going to be a high-value bombshell, so go ahead and hit the like button right now and subscribe. It's completely free for you and helps me enormously. Ready? Let's dive in. Part 1. The Invisible Prison. I'm going to tell you what the recurring pain behind their memory really is, and the key to shutting it off. There are pains you don't feel in your body, but they weigh on your soul like 1,000 pounds. Pains that don't bleed, yet leave you drained, empty, unable to move forward. One of the most invisible and destructive of these pains is this: the memory of someone who's no longer there, yet won't let you go. You wake up in the morning, and there they are, their face in your mind like a ghost barging in without asking permission. You make your coffee, check your phone, and even though you know there'll be no message from them, your body reacts as if it's waiting for a miracle. You try to focus on work, on your goals, your dreams, but their voice, their gaze, the way they touched you, pop up like needles in your memory, reminding you that you once had them and that now they're gone. And at night, when you turn off the lights and you're alone with yourself, their memory grows even stronger, like an anchor tied to your chest. And the worst part isn't remembering what once was. The worst part is the thought that comes with that memory. I'll never feel this way with anyone else. That thought is the invisible prison, a jail without bars or locks, yet with chains as real as the pain you're feeling right now. Let me tell you the true story of Alexandra, a 35-year-old woman, a psychologist, strong, independent, admired by her family and friends. Yet every night, in silence, she broke down. She'd broken up with James a year before. He'd been her great love, her life plan, her purest dream. Each night before going to sleep, her mind replayed the same scene, him walking through her door, smiling as if nothing in the world could ever go wrong, hugging her with that certainty that made her feel safe, looking at her with eyes that seemed to say, "You are my home." And the memory always ended at the same place, the conversation where he told her he wasn't ready, that he loved her but couldn't stay, that he needed to find himself again. Alexandra cried in silence, wiped her tears, turned off the light, and whispered to herself, "Tomorrow will be better." But tomorrow would come, and his memory was still there, like a tattoo etched into her emotional memory. She kept asking herself over and over, "Why can't I let him go? Why does it still hurt so much after all this time? Why, even though I understand he's not for me, does his memory still wound me?" The answer wasn't in him, or even in the story they shared. The answer lay in the single thought she hadn't shut off. Carl Jung said we don't suffer because of reality, but because of the unconscious interpretation we create of that reality. Alexandra's memory didn't keep her tied to him because he was her one true love, but because there was a hidden thought behind that memory, a thought that was the real prison. Today, I'm going to reveal what that thought is, because unless you deactivate it, you'll keep repeating the same cycle. Remembering him, feeling pain, trying to distract yourself, remembering him again, believing you're still in love, when in truth what you're in love with isn't him. It's the idea you built in your mind about him. And here's the bold promise of this video. If you deactivate that single thought, his memory will stop hurting. Not because the memory will vanish, but because it'll lose its power to wound you. Imagine being able to remember his voice without your heart shattering. Imagine thinking about his eyes without your own filling with tears. Imagine remembering him and simply feeling peace. That state is possible, and it doesn't take years of therapy, hundreds of meditations, or forcing yourself to forget. It only requires shutting off the thought that sustains the pain. So stick around, because in the next part, I'm going to reveal the false culprit behind this pain and why, as long as you keep believing the problem is the memory itself, you'll remain trapped in the same invisible prison. Today is the day you start freeing yourself, not from him, but from the idea that keeps you tied to a pain that no longer belongs to you. Part 2. The diagnosis identifying the false culprit. Here's the truth that very few people have the courage to face. Quick pause. I want to ask you something from the heart. I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to the channel. It allows me to keep creating these heartfelt messages, and the best part is, it's completely free for you. Subscribe now, and let's keep going with the most powerful part that's coming up. Here's the thing. It's not his memory that hurts you. It's what you believed his memory meant. And if you're here listening to these words, deep down, you already know this. You know there's something behind that pain that makes no sense. You know that even though he's gone, something inside you is still clinging on, as if letting go would mean dying. But what exactly is it that's binding you? Let me tell you a true story that shines a light on this answer. Her name is Martha. She's 37. She's an accountant, methodical, disciplined, with a perfectly structured life that always seemed flawless to everyone around her. She met Louis, a colleague at work, during an audit. They started out as friends, then partners in crime, and finally lovers. Louis was different from any man Martha had ever known. He was spontaneous, fun, emotional, a dreamer. He did things she never allowed herself to do, singing in the street, dancing without music, planning trips with no set date. In short, Louis was her freedom. They were together for a year of laughter, complicity, sensuality, and expansion. Until one day, without warning, Louis told her, "I'm not ready for anything serious. I love you, but I need to keep going on my own path." Martha felt like the ground opened up beneath her feet. Months went by, and though she tried to move on with her life, every time she remembered his voice, his laughter, or the unfinished plans they'd made, she felt a pain so deep it made it hard to breathe. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was an existential ache, a void that no distraction could fill. In therapy, her psychologist said, "Close your eyes, bring his image to your mind. What do you miss the most about him?" She cried and answered, "The way he made me feel. With him, my life felt like an adventure, not an obligation. Like everything was possible, like I was enough just as I am." And there it was, the raw, liberating truth. She wasn't crying for Louis. She was crying for the part of herself she'd discovered through him and believed she'd lost when he left. Carl Jung said every relationship is a mirror, and what we love most in others isn't really them. It's the part of our own soul that they reveal to us. Here's the psychological and energetic diagnosis. It's not the memory of what was that hurts you. It's the belief that only with that person could you feel the way you did. That's the false culprit. Because as long as you keep believing that your joy, your expansion, your sense of possibility depended on him, you'll stay tied to his memory like an emotional prisoner. Let me share another quick example to drive this point home. His name is Samuel. He's 42, an industrial engineer, rational, practical, always with his feet firmly on the ground. He met Caroline, a yoga and dance teacher, 30 years old, intense, spiritual, free-spirited. When they were together, Samuel felt like his gray life finally burst into color. She got him to meditate, to breathe deeply, to gaze at the moon, to talk about energy, soul, purpose. They were together for 8 months. Then she left him, saying she didn't feel their paths were vibrating at the same frequency. Samuel fell into a depression. His psychologist asked him, "What do you miss about her?" And with tears in his eyes, he answered, "Feeling alive." See it? He wasn't mourning Caroline. He was mourning the version of himself he'd discovered with her. Here's the raw revelation. The problem isn't the memory of the person. The problem is the hidden thought that sustains the pain. Without him or her, I'll never feel this way again. That thought is the real jailer, the one keeping you trapped in the invisible prison. Carl Jung said the soul doesn't get attached to people. It gets attached to the energetic experience that person allowed us to live. And the good news is this: that experience doesn't depend on them. It's yours. It always was yours. They were just a temporary activator. So today, strong soul, ask yourself these questions with brutal honesty. What part of myself do I believe I lost when they left? What did I feel within myself when I was with them that I don't know how to feel on my own now? What emotion, quality, or experience do I associate exclusively with their presence? Because once you answer truthfully, you'll see that the memory isn't the problem. The problem is the thought that makes you believe only they could give you that feeling. And that's the lie that keeps you chained. In the next part, I'll reveal Jung's truth that will dismantle this prison at its roots. Projection. Because we don't cry over the person, we cry over what we projected onto them. And once you withdraw that projection, your freedom will be immediate. Stay close, because what's coming up is the master key to shutting off this pain forever. Part 3. The Jungian Revelation. Let me explain the concept of projection. We don't cry for the person. We cry for the parts of ourselves we projected onto them. There are truths that sting when you hear them, but set you free once you integrate them. This is one of those truths. You're not suffering because of him. You're suffering because of you, because of the part of yourself you projected onto him, the part you loved, admired, craved, and believed only existed thanks to his presence. Carl Jung said every human encounter is a field of projection. What does that mean? It means that when you see someone and feel an immediate attraction, a magnetic connection you can't explain, what you're actually experiencing is a part of your own unconscious being projected onto that person. Let me tell you a story that will open your eyes. Her name is Danielle. She's 42 years old, a corporate attorney, successful, disciplined, but emotionally repressed in her personal life. She met Frederick, a visual artist, bohemian, spontaneous, chaotic, full of life and, yes, chaos. From the very first day, Danielle felt something she'd never felt with anyone else. Freedom, joy, spontaneity, life. Frederick was her absolute opposite. While she planned every minute, he lived each day as if it were his last. While she thought 1,000 times before speaking, he talked without a filter, without fear, without shame. They were together only a few months until one day, without explanation, Frederick vanished. Danielle fell into a spiral of pain and obsession that she couldn't understand. She kept telling herself, I can't forget him. No matter how hard I try, it's like a part of me died with him. In therapy, her psychologist told her, close your eyes. Imagine him standing in front of you. Tell me, what is it you miss most? Danielle burst into tears and said, his joy, his freedom, his ability to live without fear. With him, I was like that too, unafraid. And here's the Jungian revelation. Danielle wasn't crying over Frederick. She was crying over the part of herself that he had helped awaken, her own repressed freedom. C.G. Jung called this the projection of the golden quality. We all have parts of ourselves we haven't integrated, parts of our inner light we believe we don't possess. And when we meet someone who embodies those qualities, we feel fascination, attraction, and attachment. But the problem is that we confuse the projection with reality. We believe we love the other person when in truth, we're in love with what we see of ourselves reflected in them. Let me share another example. His name is Michael. He's 39, an industrial engineer, practical, serious, not very emotionally expressive. He met Lucy, a radiant woman, sweet, expressive, intense, passionate. They were together for a year. When Lucy ended the relationship because Michael wasn't opening up emotionally, Michael fell into a deep depression. He told me, I can't stop thinking about her. It's like without Lucy, life has no color. When we dug deeper, I asked him, what was it you loved most about Lucy? And he answered, her joy, her ability to express how she felt, her passion for life. With her, I felt alive. Michael wasn't crying for Lucy. He was crying for the part of his soul she had reflected back to him, a part he hadn't dared to express. Here's the brutal yet liberating truth. You're not suffering because of the person. You're suffering because of the projection. You're not crying over their absence. You're crying over the loss of connection to your own golden quality. It's not their departure that hurts. It's the disconnection from the part of you that woke up in their presence. And as long as you keep believing that joy, freedom, passion, confidence, security, or intensity belong to that person, you'll stay tied to the pain. Because your soul isn't trying to get them back. Your soul is trying to get you back. Carl Jung said, projection creates the world of perception, but destroys the reality of the relationship. What does that mean? It means that as long as you're projecting unintegrated qualities onto another person, you can't truly see them or free yourself from their memory because you're not seeing their reality. You're seeing your own shadow and your own light projected onto their body. Here's the key integration from this point. Withdrawing the projection is the first step toward freedom. When you understand that you're not crying for him, but for the part of yourself he reflected, you'll realize that your real process isn't about letting go of him. It's about reclaiming what was always yours. Ask yourself these questions right now. What was it that I loved most about him or her? Was it the way they lived, felt, created, dreamed? How did they make me feel about myself? Free, loved, seen, alive, inspired, powerful? What part of me felt possible when I was with that person? Because when you answer honestly, you'll see it was always you. It was always you. Carl Jung said that when we withdraw our projections, we stop being slaves to others and become masters of our own psychic life. And that strong soul is true freedom. Stay tuned, because in the next part, I'll teach you how to withdraw those projections and deactivate the one thought that keeps you trapped in pain with a practical 3-step method that will strip your memory of its power and leave only peace. Part 4, the method. How to deactivate the thought. I'm going to teach you right now the ultimate action plan in just 3 steps. Now that you know you're not crying over the person, but over the golden quality you projected onto them, you're ready for the most important step in this process, deactivating the thought that sustains your pain. Because it doesn't matter how much time goes by, how many tips you get, or how many self-help books you read. If you don't deactivate this thought, you'll stay tied to their memory like a ghost clinging to your energy field. Carl Jung said, "What you deny subdues you. What you accept transforms you." And accepting this truth will transform your life. It wasn't him who made you feel that way. It was the part of you that woke up thanks to his presence. And now that you know this, here's the practical 3-step method to reclaim your power, heal your projection, and free yourself from their memory forever. Step 1, interrogate the memory. Every time their image pops into your mind, every time you remember their voice, their eyes, their gestures, don't run from the memory or relive it with nostalgia. Instead, ask these 3 revealing questions. 1. What exactly do I feel when I remember them? Don't stay on the surface like, I miss them. Go deeper. Do you feel freedom, expansion, validation, security, inspiration, peace? 2. What did I believe they gave me that I couldn't give myself? Did you feel they made you feel desired, seen, alive, loved, valuable? 3. Does this quality or emotion exist because of them, or was it always in me, waiting to be activated? Here's the brutal truth. If that emotion didn't already exist inside you, you couldn't have felt it, not even with them. When you answer these questions honestly, the memory stops hurting the same way it used to, because instead of seeing it as a memory of loss, you start seeing it as a mirror reflecting your own greatness. Let me share the story of Louise, a 30-year-old fashion designer. She was in a 3-year relationship with Charles, a bohemian, free-spirited dreamer of a photographer. When he ended things to explore his own path, Louise sank into a darkness that neither friends, family, nor career success could light up. One day in a session, her coach asked her these questions. Louise cried and said, "What I miss the most is how he made me feel alive, creative, inspired. With him, I felt like I could be myself, no filters." Her coach replied, "So ask yourself, was that creativity, that freedom, that inspiration his or yours?" Louise understood. He hadn't given her those things. He'd simply awakened them. Step 2, reclaim the quality. Once you've identified the golden quality he reflected in you, it's time to claim it as your own. How? Write it on paper. For example, joy, creativity, confidence, passion, freedom. Declare it out loud as part of you. Say, "I recognize that this quality has always been within me. He didn't give it to me. He only showed it to me. And today I claim it as mine." If you can, look at yourself in the mirror while you say it. Look yourself firmly in the eyes. Feel that word vibrate in your chest. Repeat it until your mind starts to believe it and your body begins to relax. Because here's the energetic truth. When you reclaim the quality, their memory loses its power over you. They stop being the giver of your light and become simply another human being with their own lights and shadows, no longer the keeper of your radiance. Step 3. Integrate the quality. This is the step that seals your healing. It's not enough to recognize that the quality is yours. You have to integrate it into your everyday life. How? Find one daily action that expresses that quality. If it was freedom, do something every day that makes you feel free, even if it's just walking aimlessly with music in your headphones. If it was creativity, start that art project you've been putting off. If it was confidence, challenge yourself to speak to yourself with words of reassurance every night before bed. Carl Jung said, "Integration is the bridge between the unconscious and reality." And when you integrate your golden quality, you not only let go of their memory, you become whole. You become the woman who no longer searches in others for what lies dormant within herself. Let me tell you how Louise's story ended. After claiming her creativity as her own, she started designing a new collection inspired by her journey through grief and rebirth. Her energy changed so dramatically that 2 months later, Charles reached out to her again. He told her, "I see you so radiant, so completely yourself. I realized that when I was with you, I didn't know how to truly see everything that you are." But Louise no longer felt that ache in her chest. She smiled and thought, "It was always me. He was only the mirror." Here's the final integration of this method. Interrogate the memory. Reclaim the quality. Integrate the quality into your life. And their memory will lose its power because you'll no longer need them as the activator of your light. You will become your own sun. Carl Jung said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." Today, this method is giving you the chance to awaken, to stop dreaming about what once was, and start living from what has always been within you. Stay tuned, because in the next part, I'll show you what life looks like when remembering them no longer hurts, when every memory becomes a map guiding you back to yourself, your strength, your greatness, and your peace. Part 5. The transformation. The future beyond the pain. The new state where their memories no longer hurt you, but guide you toward your best self. I want you to close your eyes for a second and imagine this. One day, you wake up. Their memory comes up, just like always. But this time, your heart doesn't ache. You don't feel that weight on your chest, that anxiety churning in your stomach, or those tears burning your eyes without permission. Their memory appears, and you simply smile. Not because you've forgotten them, but because you no longer need to forget them in order to be at peace. That's the true end of grieving. It's not when you stop remembering, it's when remembering stops hurting. Carl Jung said that pain doesn't disappear when you deny it, but when you integrate it as part of your journey of growth. And that's exactly what happens when you deactivate the thought that kept your pain alive, when you reclaim the quality you projected, and when you integrate it back into yourself. At that point, the memory is no longer a weapon. It becomes a map leading you back to yourself. Let me share a true story of this transformation. Her name is Sylvia, 39 years old, a journalist, intense, passionate, always on the move. Her great love was Daniel, a volunteer doctor she met during a humanitarian trip. They were together for only 5 months, but those months were so intense, so deep, so magical that when he had to return to his country and decided to end the relationship, Sylvia felt like her world was falling apart. For nearly 2 years, his memory was her prison. There wasn't a single day when he didn't pop into her mind. Every time she heard the song they danced to on their first night together, she cried until she was utterly drained. In therapy, Sylvia learned something that changed her forever. Her therapist told her, "Daniel wasn't a mistake, nor was he an angel sent to save you. He was a mirror who showed you the woman you've always been, but had forgotten." Sylvia started applying the very method that you now know. She interrogated her memory. She discovered that what she missed most wasn't Daniel, but the version of herself who felt alive, light, adventurous, and free. She reclaimed that quality as her own. Every morning she stood in front of her mirror and repeated, "I am freedom, I am adventure, I am life." She integrated it into her life. She traveled solo to Peru, went paragliding, wrote travel chronicles, and picked up her guitar after 10 years. One day as she was watching the sunset from a lookout point, Daniel's memory floated back into her mind. But this time, instead of pain, she felt a deep peace. She smiled and whispered, "Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for showing me everything I already was, but had forgotten." And in that moment, she knew she was finally free. Not because she had forgotten him, but because she had remembered herself. Here's the brutal and beautiful revelation in this part. When you integrate the quality you once projected, that person stops being your wound and becomes your teacher. They stop being your anchor and become your impulse forward. They stop being the memory that destroys you and become the memory that builds you. Because the true future beyond the pain isn't forced forgetting. It's not ignoring what you felt. It's not distracting yourself so you don't think about them. It's remembering with gratitude, not with emptiness. It's being able to say to yourself, "Thank you for having existed in my life. Thank you for everything you awakened in me. Today I carry all of that within me, and because of that, I no longer need you." Carl Jung said that true love isn't the love that ties you down. It's the love that sets you free. And if that love is no longer present in your life, but its memory frees you and makes you more aware, bigger, more fully yourself, then it wasn't a mistake. It was a catalyst. Here's the final integration of this entire process. 1. Every time their memory comes back, look at it with love. Tell it mentally, "Thank you for reminding me who I am." 2. If you feel sadness, let it pass like a cloud. Don't suppress it, but don't believe in it either. 3. Always return to yourself. Do something that day that expresses the quality you reclaimed. Dance, write, sing, travel, study, create, lead. Because the future beyond the pain isn't some faraway destination. It's a state of consciousness you choose every single day. And when you live from that place, no memory can destroy you, because you know that everything you felt with that person didn't come from them. It was born from you. So today, strong soul, I leave you these final words for this part. Don't be afraid to remember. Don't be afraid to let go. Don't be afraid to love without needing them to come back. Because when you no longer need the past to feel alive, that's when you finally start truly living. Stay tuned, because in the conclusion, we're going to seal this entire process with a powerful vibrational decree so that their memory stops hurting you forever and your heart is freed for the life you deserve to create. Now you know it wasn't him. It was never him. It was the part of you that awoke when he appeared and that you thought you lost when he left. Today you've understood that you're not crying over his absence. You're crying over the disconnection from your own golden quality, the part you projected onto his body, his voice, his gaze. But that was always yours. Today you've reclaimed your power. Today you've remembered that your light doesn't depend on anyone else. Because when you integrate what you once saw in others, their memory stops hurting and becomes your teacher, showing you what has always lived inside you. So every time they come back into your mind, don't run, don't cry, don't blame yourself. Simply say, "Thank you for reminding me who I am." Because true closure isn't forgetting, it's remembering with peace. Comment below, "Today I reclaim the part of myself that I projected onto him." Write it down and decree this rebirth. Because starting today, you no longer live remembering him. You live remembering yourself. And that strong soul makes you free forever. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to leave your powerful like, subscribe, and definitely turn on the notification bell. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.